What's up guys, and welcome back to another EVE Online and Just About video. I'll talk about Just About in just a second, but I wanted to open with running a giveaway in this video. Basically the general premise here is there's a puzzle, which I'll talk about in more detail, but as part of that puzzle I am stuck on, and I think the whole group are stuck on what appears to be the final clue. So obviously, if you want to take part in the giveaway, please like and subscribe to the channel. But the winner of the giveaway is the first person that gives a sort of a meaningful clue to the solution that then allows us to go on and solve it. And we'll make this quite a big giveaway. I will be doing 3 skins, all from the Scope Syndication line, which are the partner skin giveaways. They look very nice. I will do a Stratios, a Varga, and a Vedmak skin. They look like this, all quite high value. And so yes, the first person to comment a clue to the solution will get all 3 of these. If you don't have the ships, then you can sell the skins. They do go for pretty high value on the market. So just estimated for the Varga is 350 million. 142, and the Vedmak will be around the 200 mark as well. So that's the giveaway. If you do find a solution to the clue, if you do find a solution to the puzzle, then please let me know in the comments, either with a clue, preferably with a clue, but if you just put the solution in, that's fine as well. So let's jump out of game and head over to Just About. And what I wanted to talk about today is real quick, Just About, if you don't know, is a brand new sort of community, online community and platform for sharing all things to do at the moment with gaming, but they're going to update it to introduce basically anything, right? Movies, TV, some kind of tech. The communities will grow and will become organic. It's currently in its alpha stage, and some of the EVE partners, well, all of the EVE partners were invited to join the alpha testing, and then a few other people have since applied and been accepted. So if you like what you see, head over to the Just About website, which is literally just justabout.com. Read up on what you can see there, check out the YouTube page, and yeah, maybe apply to the alpha and see if you can get accepted. What the platform does in an effort to sort of build engagement, and it basically they offer bounties, actual cash bounties, for particular submissions. So a bounty you can see down here might be show off your best action screenshot, and you get $3 if you're selected as one of the winners. And then all those successful bounties are then put together into curated articles, basically with the intention of this being just about becoming the one-stop platform for all things to do with your game. In this case, it's just EVE Online. It's the first gaming community on here, and so the idea of this community will become the one-stop shop. If you want to learn something about EVE Online, you want to know how to do something, you head over to Just About and find a curated article. But that's just a quick thing on Just About. Go and check it out yourself. But one of the things they did do when we first joined, in an effort to, I guess, to build engagement, but hopefully they maintain this, is they posted a bounty. If you ignore the thing down here for now, they posted a bounty that just looked like this. No information. It was just about EVE Online. Here's an image with a $500 prize and 3 question marks. That was it. No other information, and it did get us a bit hooked and offer a bit of a teaser. That was when we joined, and then 2 weeks ago, so 10 days later, we got a new bounty posted inside this one, but we've got a new one, which if I go into, again, just looked like this. If you ignore the things that are trying to load on the bottom, we are in alpha, so it's just struggling. Let me just refresh the page. There we go. Ignore the images down here for now. We just got this with a $100 bounty. That's what we received. Just said let the games begin. No other information, and that was it. That was basically puzzle number 1. and it did thin out the crowd a little bit straight away. But you might notice. Yeah, I guess just to carry on. Purpose of this video, I am going to go through the series of puzzles that have been set by just about 4 these bounties. The $500 bounty, we still don't know anything about it other than this is sort of the first stage in it. But then this bounty got posted, $100 bounty with it. I think it had a quite a long time limit, but I think it's been extended and it's been running for 13 days already. And just this. So, yes, it turns out that this bounty is a series of puzzles where ultimately someone is going to win the $100 if they can solve the final puzzle. We don't know how many there are. And the purpose of this video is to go through the ones that have been set so far, so that everyone can engage with it and understand sort of what we've been doing and how we've been solving them. But also to then, of course, get support for solving the final piece so far. If you, I will make sure there are chapters in this video for each puzzle. So if you sort of want to work alongside it but try and solve the puzzles yourself, then do make sure you pause it and come back and things to work through. But as mentioned, this is puzzle number 1. It was just this image with the let the games begin. You may have seen here there is a QR code, fairly obvious one, but because of the design might not be super obvious, but that is a QR code, and if you scan it with your QR code scanner, just as is, it will take you to a link, a shortened link, which then takes you through to this Google Docs page. And this is where the puzzles really start in anger, so I'm going to list this as we're going to do different stages. So this is puzzle 1, stage 2. And basically this is what we were left with. I've zoomed in a bit to try and make sure everything's visible, but hopefully it all stays on the screen. But basically we're met with, welcome bounty hunter, your journey has begun. Then this image, and then the text down the bottom here saying, be sure to send us a postcard to let us know you made it. You can reach us here. And this here link just links straight back to this bounty. And then one of the other important things is make a reply, not a submission. What that means is basically, if I scroll through this, you can enter as a submission or you can reply to the post. They're saying make sure you reply because at the moment this actually isn't the final solution, so don't enter it, just make sure you reply. That's all that bit means, but the rest of it is quite important. So of course if you want to solve the puzzle yourself, pause here, but we will go through it. So basically most of you will probably recognize this as flag semaphore. You can see they've put in quotes and they've put in some punctuation so that it should be relatively clear that this is going to form a sentence. But yes, this is flag semaphore, which is a way of communicating through flags and signals. So well, first thing we did here was of course just Google flag semaphore, and you can get an alphabet which comes up with each element, and then we decoded the semaphore into a sentence. That sentence, which a lot of people solved at this point, was, she travelled far and she travelled it all. She answered the map maker's call. That was it. That's what we had. That was that decoded. And then there was of course this sentence down here saying, be sure to send us a postcard to let us know you made it. You can reach us here. Sorry. So several people managed to get this far and decoded it, and then they posted that as a reply, but that didn't satisfy the solution because it said be sure to send us a postcard, let us know you made it. So one thing to remember is this is the EVE Online community and it's an EVE Online bounty, so we thought about this sentence in reference to EVE, and actually one of the very important things for this whole puzzle solution is that you have a good knowledge of Eve lore. So we thought about it with context to Eve, and I checked in with one of my court mates, and he mentioned Katia Sey, who, if you don't know, Katia Sey is the first Capsuleer to have travelled to every single system in New Eden, including all of K-Space and all of J-Space. They were the first person to do it, and so of course the Capsuleer got a monument built in her name. So then jumped into game, warped to the Katia Sey Memorial at Saseo, and submitted a postcard, basically, sure to send us a postcard. So submitted a screenshot of me at the Katia Sey Memorial, and that was correct. That was the answer to number 1. You can see a few of us got it right, Shad Squatch and Orikado as well, and there's actually a few other correct solutions on the other bounty, and that then took us through to puzzle number 2. So that puzzle number 1 just gives you sort of a taste. It was a relatively simple one, but gave us a taste of what was expected to get through to puzzle number 2. Now, again, this is all we had to go on. They posted one image and no text at all with it. So if I check down here, the only text is we're just getting started. What's going on here? Okay, and we're left with this image. So this is puzzle number 2, stage 1. I will pause so that you can take a look at the image yourself. And so, a couple of things we can see in this image straight away, of course. We've got a Titan, we've got several things going on in game, but then there's also strings of text running up and down, and you've also got QR codey looking things over here, and actually depends how good the contrast is, but you can see there's a part of a QR code in the top right hand corner. So for this solution, all of that, well, pretty much all of that is actually unnecessary, but so you can kind of disregard the QR code, but don't disregard it completely. We'll need that at some other stage. And the image, it turns out, isn't important at all. What's important is the string of text going up and down. Oh, also the word proceed. You can disregard that as well. The string of text going up and down, you can see it's pretty much all in green, but there are some letters that are highlighted in a different color. You've got the H down here, an R there, an M, a J. Hidden in here, there's a T and a D underneath this light, for example. Okay, so there's quite a few letters that are in a different color. So that sort of caught our eye. And then so we extracted all of those letters that aren't green from this text, including the punctuation. There's a colon, there's a slash slash, and so once you realize that the colon and the slash slash here, double slash, are involved, that might point to something important. Okay, that might point to a web address. So then the other thing you can see as well is they are all different colors. And again, my court mate, I'm going to credit him because he's had a huge hand in all of the puzzles so far. So Cal Ichthor in game, bit of a puzzle whiz. He noticed that these colors all run in, could run in order of spectrum, visible light spectrum. So that's what we did basically when placed in order of visible light spectrum. So if you think of a rainbow from red down to indigo and violet, start with the H because it's the reddest one, then you can go that H into, there's a orange T in here, over to that T, well maybe not that T, sorry, there's an orange T in here, P, S, and then the colon slash slash. You realize it's going to be a web address, right? HTTPS colon slash slash, and then you can follow the rest of it out to generate tiny URL. So tiny URL, and then to make a suitable web address .com. So we realized that these that are mostly green but slightly not green needed to be extracted as well. That where it says orc, we needed those letters. And basically we generated a web URL from this. It was HTTPS tinyurl.com/JA for just about JA2 radical is the web address. That's the solution to this puzzle. It was really quite challenging, and I don't know if anyone actually got this other than us, but that's how this was solved. And that also then might give you a clue as to how you solve future puzzles. It's actually not really to do with the image, there's other stuff going on. And that web address took us to this. So this is puzzle 2, stage 2, and we get your journey continues, and then just a long string of ones and zeros. And then of course a bit of text at the bottom saying be sure to grab a photo together, send it here, and again that here links into the stage 1 bounty. Long string of ones and zeros. Immediately your mind jumps to binary, but what's not clear here is what format that binary is going to take. There's no breaks, unless of course you take each line as a break, but if you do that then the last one is shorter. And so we were playing around with the binary a little bit. First thought was to break it down into bytes, so that's every 8 units, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, no, I think 8's there. So breaking it down to sections of 8 numbers is a byte, and that left us with a slight conundrum, because we were using different binary to text converters, or binary to ASCII, binary to number, all sorts of different converters to see what we could get out of it. And one of the things we sort of realized, the numbers were pretty big. Okay, so if you just plug these whole things in to convert that into a number, you end up with something that like breaks calculators. It was like times 10 to the power of 232 or something crazy. But if you broke it down into bytes, then they're a bit smaller. It obviously can't be higher than 256, but we strung, because that's how binary works, but we strung those numbers together and they didn't make any sense. So then we were trying to text, but one of the issues with to text is all the letters of the alphabet start with a 0 in binary. So if we go to here, that's your first 8, that starts with a 1, so not a letter. Next one starts with a 1, so not a letter. Next one starts with a 1, so not a letter, and so on. Okay. One of the things that we then noticed, though, or Cal noticed, I should say, give him credit, is that all of them started with a 1. So not a single one of them could be a letter, but we also didn't understand what the numbers could mean. So what he tried is, if they all started with a 1, then what if we run the inverse, and we flipped, so every 1 you see here became a 0, every 0 became a 1, and that meant that suddenly they could all be letters, because they would all start with a 0 and be followed by a 1, I think was how the pattern worked. And we then did suddenly have a string that worked. So the solution to this one was to break everything down into bytes, so 8 number segments, flip all the 1s and 0s, and then run a binary to ASCII converter, and you ended up with the following text: of Martin, McQueen, and Carell, none could hold a candle to the greatest of his name. So again, we've got this, but we also know be sure to grab a photo together. So this isn't just the answer, this is another puzzle. But if you know some famous people, you'll know that these probably are referencing a Steve Martin, Steve McQueen, and Steve Carell. None could hold a candle to the greatest of his name. So we know from the catchy essay that, and getting a photo together, that it's likely to be something in-game. So again, if you know your Eve lore, or a quick Google will take you to Steve the Titan, who is the first ever Titan to be deployed and destroyed in EVE Online, which is pretty awesome. And so of course there's a bit of a memorial to Steve the Titan, who is the making it the first Titan lost in combat in New Eden, and the wreck can be found, is still there in this system in Nullsec, C9NCC. So I flew down there, took a selfie with Steve, and it turned out that that was the correct answer. So here's me with Steve, and that was correct, and we unlocked the next puzzle. All these puzzles are public, so you can see that, like, I'm submitting the answer, but then everyone gets to see the next puzzle. That's because the intention was for us all to work together. It turns out it wasn't clear, but the intention was for us to work together up to a certain point. And so that's one of the reasons I'm putting this video together, so that everyone can see what was done. So this was then the next puzzle number 3, stage 1. Again, not much to go off. There's all sorts going on in the image, but not much particularly helpful. In the background you can see that is almost definitely Jita 44, with a fireworks display and stuff going on. Big old word proceed. But then some things that are a bit confusing. So this element that stands out really clearly here is almost definitely a billboard on Jita 44. They've just placed it strategically in the screenshot. And again, the triangles, which do stand out a bit, I think are part of the docking elements in game. I'm not sure what this DAS is at all, whether that's in game. I mean, I guess it's in game, but I don't know. And then of course there's this white square with Just About an EVE Online as well, throwing into the mix. But then importantly, like as an obvious sign, you've got these 3 what look like QR code sections, but there's only 3. But if you look very closely, you see this white square here actually has a QR code fragment in it, and then this black square here also has a QR code fragment in it, and they are really faded. So quick pause, so you can pause here and go and solve the puzzle. But what we've got is, if you know what a QR code looks like or don't, like, have a quick Google of it, and they all tend to look pretty similar. They all follow the same sort of pattern. And so this element in the bottom, this faded one in white, I don't know how clearly you'll be able to see it in the video, but this faded one in white, that's going to be the bottom right hand corner of the QR code. That's just always the case. That's going to be the bottom right because of its design. Similarly, this one in black, it's got one of these thick squares in the top left hand corner, which means it's going to be the left hand corner of the QR code, probably. Because I guess I should mention, because these are all fragments like this, and there's more than 4 of them, there's 5, we took that to mean that we're going to have to reassemble the QR code. So this is what we're doing here: bottom right, top left, and then similarly this one is the only one with the bottom left corner. So that was our first port of call. We had those 3 that we try and fit together, and when you do try and assemble them, it does make sense as well. The different patterns do match up, and so those 3 made sense. That left us with a dilemma of these 2. How did you know which one would fit in the top right? And we were trying to put them in there, but neither of them would fit. And then we did realize that actually they don't, whilst they look like QR codes, they don't actually fit the pattern. You'll notice that the center is not dark, and so on, like the pattern is incorrect as you move out. The solution here was actually to produce the negative of both of these, and and then they would match up with the design of the other corners. So produce the negative, and then basically it's just a case of working out which of the two would fit the pattern as the top right corner. And that's sort of how it should have been simple, but even once we'd done that, I just couldn't get it to work, couldn't get it to scan. I tried brightening and these two, but I just couldn't get my QR code scanners to recognize it. So again, Cal spent quite a long time in Paint, just physically drawing in all the dark and light patches in the QR code. Once we've got it fitted together, removing the color, and then getting all the dark and light in there. And after a bit of work in Paint, we got it to function, and we're able to scan QR. So if you did manage to reassemble it, like I did, but then still couldn't get it to work, that was a bit frustrating. But so Cal, who had a bit of time on his hands because he was on holiday, then spent a lot of time drawing it in, and it did function. So that's the solution to that one, and that QR code takes us to this puzzle. So again, I'll pause, and we'll carry on. So this is a bit smaller. This is why I zoomed in, but this text is a bit smaller. We are left with, your journey reaches the point of no return. There's some text here saying it may well be doubted whether human ingenuity can construct an enigma which human ingenuity may not resolve. Big old image, and then some gobbledygook down here, followed by pics or it didn't happen. So this one I actually didn't find too bad, because this sounds like a quote, right? It may well be doubted whether human ingenuity can construct an enigma which human ingenuity may not resolve. That sounded like a quote, so I just picked it up, dropped it into Google, and it is a direct quote taken from Edgar Allan Poe, and he wrote, and actually it comes from one of his pieces of work called the Gold Bug, which will again then supports the reference here. So that quote comes from the Gold Bug, and this image here then just helps confirm that. And then you drop down here and you go, okay, I understand that it comes from the Gold Bug, but what on earth is this? A bit of digging. I've not read the Gold Bug, of course, but a bit of digging into the text and the synopsis and things. It's all about Edgar Allan Poe was obsessed with cryptography and puzzles, and so there's a famous one called the Gold Bug Cipher within the book. And there's a Wikipedia page, and there's various tools you can use to decode this, and it matches up with the Gold Bug Cipher. So we then used a web page which has the Gold Bug Cipher as a direct converter, drop that in, and out the other side comes this text: broken hearts left to rust, a diamond lurking in the dust, in a game for many, a game for one, in a game for many, a game for one, go to Minmatar's Valhallan gun. Now, again, based on the previous two, we assumed this was a clue to something in-game, where we would need to send a photo or a screenshot. So we were trying to work out what the reference was. Minmatar's Valhallan gun is the biggest clue, I would say. So Minmatar, so we're going to, and also we've had two. No, we haven't. Never mind. Minmatar's Valhallan gun. Minmatar, so it's probably going to be something to do with that race. Valhallan gun. Basically, Valhalla. There's Valhalla is the afterlife for Norse in Norse mythology, but there's also which is reference to Ragnarok, which is the end of the world. Again in Norse mythology. Ragnarok is the Minmatar's Titan. So that's what that's referencing. Broken hearts left to rust. That's going to be probably a wreck. Again, maybe Minmatar because it's rusty, but that's a wreck. So we've got Titan, Ragnarok, wreck, and in a game for many, a game for one. that's actually then helping us reference the name. But basically, it's referencing the solitaire, which is another thing you should know. You need to know from your Eve lore. But yes, it's referencing the solitaire, which is a Ragnarok, just floating there as a big old wreck. There's not much. There's quite a bit of lore around it, but it's not really clear what it is. I've forgotten which system it's in. It's like Lamennicon or something. I can't remember. It's in here somewhere, in this text somewhere. There you go. System Lenacamon. So off I went down to the solitaire, and we got some screenshots. Submitted one which was a bit dodgy because of all the cloud, but turns out we were right, and we got the next puzzle. And now this one, things start to get really tough. So this is puzzle number 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is where we start to reach our limit. Very little to go off on this one. Very little at all. We've got the race begins, and we've got this wreck in space. And the eagle-eyed of you will probably spot this QR code fragment in the top right, in part of the wreck. And we also notice there's TRA written on the bottom. Still not sure what that's referring to. It might help us with the solution, but I just want to mention that. So again, we weren't sure what this was. This wreck is specifically one of the wrecks in Mekios Graveyard, I think that's what it's called, which is another site in game. But this is the first time that the image might be important here. Mekios Graveyard is a stop along the Gallente Federation Grand Prix, which is the big race that happens every year, and that is then supported, of course, by the reference "The Race Begins." But again, as mentioned, this is the first time the image, so Jitter 44, whatever this Titan is, that might be a Ragnarok actually, they didn't matter. This time, we have the text referencing what's happening in the image, which did throw us for a little bit of a loop, and we've only got one QR code fragment. So again, we'll pause, and then we'll go with how we found the next step. So that's all we had. So we went to Mekios Graveyard. Someone tried to, one of the other guys, Brother Grimoire, I think, posted an image there, and it was rejected. I went to the start of the Gallente Federation, the Grand Prix start line in Luminaire, sent an image, that was rejected. So clearly we needed to involve this QR code somehow, but we didn't have much to go on. But if you remember, this is the bottom right, okay? We have a bottom right corner because of the design again. There was this QR code up here that I told you to discard and not worry about earlier in puzzle number 2, is the top left and bottom left. So we were like, okay, we'll grab that as well, why not? And then in this puzzle, we created a QR code from 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces, but there was one piece left over that was going to be a top right corner, as long as you left it in negative. So we thought, actually, we've got all 4 pieces we need across the puzzles now to generate a QR code. Again, make sure the piece you had left over from this puzzle is in negative, otherwise it doesn't work. And so we were like, that has to be right. There's 4 pieces of a QR code, each corner. That must be the solution. So we went and pulled them all together, but could not get it to work. This QR code would not fit. It would not fit in with the other 3 at all, which was really frustrating, really quite annoying. I just could not get it to work. But what the actual solution is, which is again, it's another very clever one. These are great puzzles. We've absolutely loved it. But the solution here was to clip out the specific corner. So from if you found a way to line it up nicely, again, Cal was able to solve this. He could see that specific corners would match with the rest of the QR code. So he clipped out trimmed the edges off, so we were left with just the functioning corners. I think it was here, where this thick black edge is. If you clipped to that thick black edge, trimmed it, and just left this bit, it then fit perfectly, and bam, we had a functioning QR code. That took us to this page. And now this is where you all need to pay attention, and this is where we're stuck. We've been on this now for several days, 4 or 5 I think we've been at this puzzle, and we are stuck. And I also believe that this is the final of the public puzzles, because there is one key difference to the rest of the previous ones, where they've all been there's nowhere to submit your response. This one you have to put in an answer and then click next. This is a required question. So all we have to go on is the title, which the others don't have, right? They've got "Your journey continues," "Welcome Bounty Hunter," all in the same text. But this one, different text in bold. Not the end, but the end of the beginning. So probably required. And then also, "Might not the answers of the hour lie in yesteryear." So that's some kind of clue, we guess. And then the actual puzzle is this sentence here in quote marks, which I'm not going to try and pronounce because I don't think it's supposed to be pronounceable. And then for some reason 5 dashes down here, which I'm assuming means our solution here is a 5-letter combination or word, but I don't know. And this is where we're stuck. This is what we need support on. I can mention a couple of things we've been thinking about. So not the end, but the end of the beginning. Could be referencing Winston Churchill quote, where he says, "This is not the end. This is not even the beginning of the end. It is but the end of the beginning." Talking about the Allies' first victory at El Alamein. So we've been exploring that possibility, but haven't been able to find a real link. Might not the answer to the hour lie in yesteryear. So yesteryear, if used properly, means the recent past. What defines recent, we're not sure. And we don't know if Just About are even using it properly. They might just mean any past. So I've tried, I've looked at some of the previous puzzles. And so, what happened if we threw this back into the Goldbug cipher? Nothing. What happens if we try and convert it to binary? Nothing, especially not that would give a usable answer, at least that I've been able to find. We've done several, 1-letter in the alphabet moving solutions, and none of them have worked. So we are stumped, and we would really need your support. And just a reminder, anyone that does find or thinks they have a solution and would like to help, they'll be doing, the first person to give a workable answer will receive 3 skins, 1 Stratios, 1 Varga, and 1 Vedmak of the Scope Syndication skins that are partner only. So yes, and I think once this isn't the end. I think this is the end of the public section. If we submit a correct answer here, I think we will then get we will then start a sort of more of a private, where we're not supposed to collaborate, to then go for the $100 prize. And that's just the first in the $500 bounty. We don't know what that $500 bounty is referencing, apart from this is part of it. So there's all sorts going on. The puzzles have been great. They've been really, really fun. They're really quite hard work, but they've been a lot of fun. And hopefully Just About are going to keep doing these in the future, in an effort to build engagement and things and moving forward. So if you are interested in this kind of thing, but also just generally what Just About are doing, please do head over to their page, check them out. and if you apply for that alpha, you might get accepted. I don't know for sure. I know a couple of people have been accepted that aren't partners, so I think it is happening, but of course, no guarantee. But we're trying to build a community over here and get it working, and the more people that come across and the more people that are engaged, then obviously the better this platform will become. So yes, that's what I wanted to do a video on today. So everyone that's already been taking part in these puzzles, this is how we've been doing it so far. Sorry about the lack of collaboration. We didn't actually realize it was possible. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you all in the next one. Cheers.